Welcome to the big stage. Arthur is very familiar with this. Senator Lindsey, maybe this is your first time?
It is.
We have had 50 years of the Laffer curve. And Dr. Laffer, you have been at the forefront of that economic policy, advising presidents from Reagan, as I said in the introduction, to now Donald Trump, most recently. Tell us a little bit about the arc of your advice and counsel to these public officials and what you're most excited about.
Can I first say something about
Of course.
being here? Just quickly, the chaplain, beautiful prayer. I loved it. If you like auto races, if you like basketball, if you like limestone public structures, visit Indiana. If you like no income tax and right to work enshrined in your Constitution, come on to Tennessee. Just what I said. It's fun. I don't know. It's been fun. The Laffer curve and all of that has been around for 1,000 years or more. It's in the Muqaddimah, Ibn Khaldun. It goes way back. I did not name it the Laffer curve. That was Jude Winniski. But it had not been in vogue in the 1960s and 1970s. It really was not in vogue. If you raise tax rates 10%, you raise revenues 10%. That was the end of it. We brought it back into vogue with Ronald Reagan and Prop 13, of course, in California before Reagan. So far, it's been doing pretty well. I mean, if you look at it, whenever you raise the highest tax rate, as this little book says, on the top 1% of income earners, 3 things happen. Number 1, the economy underperforms. If you raise the highest tax rate on the top 1% of income earners, tax revenues from the top 1% of income earners goes down. And number 3, if you raise the highest marginal income tax rate on the top 1% of income earners, the poor get hammered. That is clear from the entire history of the income tax. This is a book that I wrote with Dr. Brian Dimitrovic and Dr. Gene Sinkfield, and it's all there. And it just goes on. The whole history of taxes is what happened. Look at California. Awful tax structure everywhere except one little thing, property taxes. And if you look at California, its entire prosperity, and it has prosperity, is because of Proposition 13. I could go on, but I'll stop there.
Well, that's wonderful. What he's pointing to is this book, Taxes Have Consequences. And I think it was last year, Arthur, that we sent this to almost every legislator, or every Republican legislator that was an ALEC member. So if you don't have a copy of this book, it chronicles the history of taxation. It's really a fascinating book, and I know Brian is here as well. But it's really a fascinating book. If you want a copy, let us know and we'll get you one. But I think you are also the author of Wealth of States, and you're working on a second volume of Wealth of States. Is that right?
We are. We're working on that, and we're doing something big in Britain as well. A huge project in the UK. So we're keeping busy.
I think you are. Senator Lindsey, you just joined the political fray in the last, I don't know how many years, but you're 2023. What was it that got you off the sidelines, aside from a father-in-law that was probably encouraging you a lot? But what motivated you, and what got you to run for office and take things into your own hands?
He did encourage me, but my entrance into politics is also related just on the facts that you see in things like taxes have consequences. I had lived in 6 different states, largely because of military service, and the last of those was actually Tennessee. But I'm from Michigan originally, and so I moved back to Michigan, much to his chagrin. Took his daughter with me. And simply by moving from from Tennessee to Michigan, without any other major changes, I kept the same job, bought a smaller house, my taxes went through the roof. And as an adult, you see this in a totally different light, trying to raise a family and decide what's best. I'm happy to be there. I love Michigan. I love my family, extended family. But it really demonstrates what Dr. Laffer's written about so long. A state like Tennessee is growing like gangbusters, whereas Michigan is struggling because we don't have those proper policies in place. We had a lot of work over, from 2010 to 2018, where Republicans in particular had a more pro-growth mindset, were adopting some policies and making progress. But lately, it's been going exactly the opposite direction, and it's not a pro-growth environment there right now. So I decided to get off the sidelines, jump in, run, and be one of those voices trying to advocate for positive change.
Well, thankfully, Michigan was one of the only, it was the only state that flipped a chamber in this last election in 2024. So congratulations. I think Speaker Matt Hall is here and his delegation on the House side, but we need to flip that chamber in the Senate, right, in the next election.
That's right.
So that you guys can be in the majority. Michigan ranks 19th, I believe, in economic outlook in rich states, poor states. Are you thinking about kind of building up to what you're going to try to do when you get that majority, and hopefully a Republican governor?
Where is Speaker Hall? We need him to come answer this question. But I think, look, the cool thing is that it's not hard to come up with the policies that work. All of you have done it for so long. It's more about coming up with the electoral victories that put the right people in place and then having the conviction to follow through. Speaker Hall has done something incredible in just, this year of standing strong on a lot of the principles that he's fought for years as an ALEC member, instead of just caving and saying, let's just do whatever the Democrats want. But that's what it's going to take in 26 is getting, enough people in the right positions who believe in these foundational principles that Alex espoused for a long time, and then having the conviction to move them forward. And I'm very encouraged that we have that opportunity. Like you said, the Republicans flipped the House this last cycle, and I think we can do the same thing and take the governor's mansion, or at least get people there that believe in the same things we do, and then follow through. Get right to work back, get rid of prevailing wage. Our tax rate, we had a short-term cut based on some ALEC policy that triggered a tax cut, but then the Democrats took it right back up. So we know what works. We just have to have the right people and the conviction to follow them forward.
Absolutely, that's wonderful. So we've spent a lot of time looking at and thinking about this big, beautiful bill in Washington. I know that a lot of folks here and our legislators have signed our ALEC letter encouraging the Congress and the House to pass that bill. And as it went through, there was all kinds of issues like the SALT deductions and other things that we were paying very close attention to at ALEC. Dr. Laffer, what is your thought on that bill, and how do you think that sets up the president for the last 3 years of his term?
I'm going to interject a little comment first. I mean, eat your heart out, people. Can you imagine having a son-in-law, Special Forces, Green Beret, Yale grad? How's that for cool? State senator, married my number 6, my youngest daughter, and sired 3 wonderful, wonderful grandchildren. I mean, it does not get any better than that, believe me. Now, back to real problem. The BBB. Donald Trump.
Never mind, we just want to hear about the grandkids.
The grandkids have to be somewhere around here.
We're in the back.
They're in the back. They're
right back there.
And my daughter, Allison Laffer Lindsey is absolutely the most spectacular person in partnership with John, just the team of the century. I mean, really seriously. Now, the BBB is Trump's latest victory. He now owns this economy. Literally, he does. He got his budgets, he's got his tax cuts, he's got all of that. Obviously, there are a lot of little things here, there, and elsewhere, but he got all of his cabinet, with the exception of Matt Gaetz. And I'm not sure he wanted that one either. But he's got his cabinet, he's got this now is the Trump economy. And we are here to see what's going to happen. The way I look at it, he's fully in charge. The way I look at it, you'll have to look at the five kingdoms of prosperity. Taxes, we've got lower rates, broader base, flatter taxes. We've even got it on tips and overtime and on interest on car loans. I mean, it's just great. We've got government spending. The president's got his spending. He's got his border money. He's got his defense money. He's got all of that. He's got just what he wants there. If you look at monetary policy very shortly, we're going to replace Powell with a good Fed chairman who will be able to run on a monetary standard. And it will be Donald Trump's choice on that one all the way. Regulatory, we've decontrolled energy. We're going to have price transparency, which is really important. And God bless Lisa Nelson for pushing price transparency, and Cynthia Fisher. She got the award, the ALEC Laffer Award, if I remember
Talk
correctly.
about that next.
And
yeah.
it's just phenomenal what's been done there. And finally, trade policy. I'm not sure how trade's going to work out. He scares the living hell out of me. He reminds me of a Calistoga wagon coming down a hill without a rider, with just the horses running over rocks and bumps, and you're jolted. If you think it's ever going to stop, you are wrong. It is going to. The smoke will never clear. The dust will never settle. You are going to be in that Calistoga wagon running over rocks and bumps for the full time of Donald Trump. But all of that having been said, I could not be more optimistic about what's going to happen. It reminds me very much of the beginning of the Reagan Revolution. Reagan made a mistake of phasing in the tax cuts, which slowed and then the economy took off. From January 1st, 1983, until June 30th, 1984, real GDP grew by 12% at an 8% per annum compound rate. That's Chinese growth rates. You won't get that coming off Trump because we didn't have the big dip down. But I am expecting very great prosperity, rapid growth in GDP, and prosperity to hit all groups in the society. And I think it's here for a long, long time to come. So that's my view of the world.
Is that what we call the golden age?
It's the second golden age of it's the second golden age of my lifetime, and I'm really excited. So I decided, being 85 years old, I've decided that I want to live another 52 years so I can see it fully come out. So I have just declared that my death date will be in 52 years from now when I'm 137 years old, just for the record.
Well, if we can come up with the medical miracles that Scott Rasmussen talked about, and if the doctors can find another new way of washing their hands, maybe we can do that for you.
Oh, I've done it. I mean, it's locked. You can count on that one. You guys have to worry about your health, but I'm here for the long haul.
He's in it for the long haul. You mentioned medical transparency, and that is something that ALEC has been working on and partnered with Cynthia Fisher and the Patients' Rights Advocates Group for now, I think, 3 or 4 years. I know that it's kind of sweeping the country. Jonathan, Senator Lindsey, you have carried or have an interest in that bill. Tell us a little bit about what your hopes are for that.
Yeah, I'm optimistic about it. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think 3 states this year or in the last year have adopted state-level policy on medical price transparency. Unfortunately, as a Michigander, Ohio is one of those, so I hate it when they get ahead of us on policy. But it's something I've worked on since I started. I think it's foundational. I think building out an environment where people can make more informed decisions and treat medical care more like a transaction we're used to, where you can shop for services, see how much they cost, see what the value is. I've led in legislation on it. Actually, in a Democrat-led Senate, we did get a bill through with initially unanimous vote. But unfortunately, we have a lot more work to do because what our goal is to match the ALEC model legislation, which has a really good comprehensive approach to this. And so it'll be a work in progress, but I see positive signs in Michigan because there's been interest from both parties saying this is something that could really serve the people well.
Yeah, it's been really interesting. We talked about it when we were in Denver last year. It's a bipartisan, nonpartisan issue, and it's been passing in states like Colorado and Virginia and Rhode Island, in addition to being looked at in Ohio like it was a red state. But really, really interesting dynamics. And who's not for medical transparency? Who doesn't want to know what the cost of your services are? And I know, Dr. Laffer, you want to kind of add it to our rich states, poor states analysis because the economic impact is so big.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, it's 17% of GDP. If you look at U.S. life expectancy relative to the OECD from 1970 on, and if you look at U.S. costs relative to the OECD from 1970 on, it's what puts out on a plot what I call le croix de santé, which is the cross of health. Our life expectancy relative to OECD has been dropping like a stone, and our costs relative to the OECD have been rising like a star in the heaven. It's just amazing how bad U.S. policy is on healthcare. And it's tragic that we're losing all those lives and spending all that money and getting negative results. We need price transparency where people know what the prices are. They know what the consequences of medical actions are. They're published. They're required to be published so we can bring a marketplace back into healthcare and we can reverse those trends dramatically. Let me tell you what one of the biggest enemies is. It's something called HIPAA. HIPAA is not there to protect patients' privacy. HIPAA is there to protect hospitals from disclosing what their prices are and how they're ripping you off and how other medical procedures are doing the same thing. It's really shocking what's happening. I was chairman of the board of Centennial Hospital, if any of you know of it, in Nashville. It's the flagship for HCA. What you guys don't know about doctors and healthcare and prices is unbelievable, and the change in the decisions you would make if you did know would be miraculous for this country.
Well, we're going to continue working on that. I know setting up for 2026, we're hopeful that a lot more states will take that ALEC model policy and develop it. With respect to another issue that you mentioned, property taxes, you know, ALEC has the truth in taxation policy that we've been kind of promulgating. And you mentioned California and the property taxes there. I know that a lot of states and governors are looking at property taxes as an issue. Is that something that you're seeing take hold across the country, Dr. Laffer?
Yeah, and property taxes are the silent killer of the tax system. In Tennessee, there are 433 separate property tax jurisdictions. They range from 0.5% to 3% in the state. If you know where all the high property taxes are in Tennessee, they're all in Memphis, or it's just destroyed the economy of Memphis. It has Tennessee and Nashville. We have a new mayor of Nashville, of Davidson County, and they're proposing a huge new property tax. What you're seeing is the consequences. It is a very simple thing. A property tax is a wealth tax, and as such is a discounted present value back into the value of the home. And once you've destroyed the value of the property, be it a home, a farm, industrial, or a production facility, once you've destroyed that, you've destroyed the entire production base of your state. In Detroit, for example, there are some areas of Detroit that have property tax rates upwards of 20%. If you look at Hartford and Bridgeport in Connecticut, they're upwards of 5%. Never seen worse places. There is no place that the Laffer curve applies more precisely than it does to property taxes. And you know, we need to really get in there and get a Prop 13 for each and every state and make it guaranteed that property taxes can never grow by more than 2% per year, and that the property tax rate, the effective tax rate, can never exceed 1%. That's just absolutely essential for bringing prosperity back to a lot of states, and I'm working on that right now in Tennessee. I don't know if we'll be successful, but we were very successful in California, and politically, it's dynamite. In California in 1978, we dropped property tax rates by 60% on one day. One day, bam, they were 2.8% down to 1%. The Round Table opposed it. The California Round Table, Small Business Federation opposed it. The Democratic Party opposed it. The Republican Party opposed it. All the unions opposed it. Everyone opposed it except for one little teeny tiny group, the voters. We passed that bill 65-35, and then the voters turned their guns on all the people that had opposed it and exterminated them en masse. If you want to win elections, and if you want to do the right thing, the voters are with you 100%. Property tax limitation, and don't be shy, be bold, and make it 2%, no more growth than that in property tax bills, and no more higher property tax rate than 1% effective rate, and you will have the most prosperous state around. California's sole prosperity is driven by Proposition 13, and if you go to California along the coast, you'll be amazed at how prosperous it really looks in spite of their silly income taxes, corporate taxes, and regulations. They still are doing well only because of Prop 13.
Yes, that's true. Well, we're out of time, but we have a great future in Senator Lindsey in Michigan, and hoping for that majority control. And Dr. Laffer, it's always wonderful to have you. Thank you so much for joining us.
She's my hero, by the way.
He's my hero, so it works really well. Thank you so much, and give a big round of applause for our panelists.